Good morning. I just finished up the Signum 3 3.0 design this morning. They're all submitted and everything. It was pretty... It went quite smoothly. I'm not sure what made this one different. Normally it goes a bit more clunky, more frenetic, I guess, crazier. I don't know. Everything just kind of flowed with this one. I've been thinking about advertising and software as a product, and it's just kind of weird to me that TV shows were created to get eyeballs to watch commercials. So when you're watching a television show, you're watching it for the commercials. The commercials are why the television show exists. Because without the commercials, the television show in that venue would not exist. Which is weird. It's like, what does TV do? You turn on a television and it starts showing you stuff, pictures, things that are interesting to you. But they're only, what is it, the eyeball? It's like eyeball inventory, eyeball storage, I guess, eyeball access. The TV company, or the channel, has an inventory of eyeballs, and they want to get as many eyeballs as they can, and then they sell those eyeballs to the people who want those eyeballs to look at their stuff. So advertisers purchase time from these eyeball. I keep wanting to say thieves, and maybe I should, because I can't think of another word for it. If you have a better word for it, I'd be interested to know. So the eyeball thieves try to figure out how many different and subtle and nuanced ways and overt, loud ways that they can steal as many eyeballs as possible. And once they've stolen those eyeballs and have them in inventory, they can say, look how many eyeballs we have. And this extends to something like Google's impression system, which is I don't know, I'm not good with words today. The only thing that springs to my mind is Lovecraftian, but that seems a bit excessive. The idea that you can be tracked for your interest in things by subtle exposure in the things that you watch, and then be tracked to the point that if you walk into a store and you buy a Snickers bar, that kind of thing, Google can measure how many impressions of a Snickers bar you got, and go to Snickers and say, hey, look, this is what we got Troy to do. It's really uncomfortable, because all of it is designed to get to know you for the sole purpose of getting you to open your wallet. And, you know, I've said all this before, on the marketing video. You buying a thing isn't necessarily a bad thing. You being advertised a product and then saying, I would like to purchase that product, I think that product will benefit me, and then you purchase it, and then it does benefit you, and you get gains of whatever output you receive from that product. That's good. It is a good thing. I guess the bad part of it is consumerism for consumerism's sake, or consumerism for, retail therapy. is what it's called. You know, buy a thing and you'll feel better for a little bit. So, but there's no such compulsion on those that are advertising to you to be respectful of your personage, really. Understanding that, you know, when I open YouTube, and when I open Amazon, what is being displayed to me is not, hey, look at this neat stuff. What is being displayed to me is extremely carefully curated, to be, and crafted to be exactly what I would or should be interested in, or even what they're just trying to begin to get me interested in. You know, if you see something long enough, it starts to kind of take root, and you start to think, man, maybe I should get a extended dog collar in neon green. I don't know. The point is, and this is, you know, I've come full circle from like cringy teenager to jaded consumer, back to cringy. It's like you are the product. You are what, you know, your eyeballs are the product. You are the wallet. And that's what this kind of capitalism views you as. And in that corner of it, it's very disrespectful. In that aspect, it's very disrespectful. Obviously, things like I mean, bring it back to its most pure output, or pure input, I guess. I don't even know. Shakespeare writes a play. You know, he writes Hamlet, and it's made to teach people, you know, to give people drama, to help them to understand something about themselves, something about the world around them, expose them to new ideas, and better them as people, honestly. Getting what you should out of a fine piece of art should better you. Now, Hamlet, or Shakespeare, didn't produce the plays himself. He didn't act the plays himself. He didn't make set up the venue. He didn't build the theaters. But all of that was necessary for his art to be disseminated. I thought about this over a decade ago when ad block became a thing. When people realized that you could use JavaScript to block ads on web pages. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. This would break the internet. Because at that point I was aware that TV existed for commercials. And the internet, for the most part, existed for advertising. At least the free parts of it. And maybe that's the problem, is just there's no direct pay from the consumer of the product, of the intangible product, you know, looking at a web page or enjoying a piece of art, to the creator of that, because it goes through many different levels. However, I think that's fair, though, because someone paid, they paid the producer, and the producer paid Shakespeare. You know, that was the split. It was pretty close. But when I turn on a television, and this gets into advertising, advertiser-friendly stuff, when I create art and put it on YouTube, be it, you know, me farting the national anthem, or one-man representation of Othello, when I create that and I put it on YouTube, YouTube is saying, cool, we're not going to get money directly from this, so the way that we're going to make money from it is by advertising. And because we're making money by advertising, those advertisers have a say in what product we are able to display on our venue. That was bad. Whew. As soon as I broke that corner, I was looking to see if there was a car coming, and right when I hit that angle, the sun broke through the trees, and I was completely blind. And I was like, there's another car there, there's no car here, there's no possible way there's a car there, but I'm still going. I technically can't see. it's just strange, you know. I guess it's mass marketing, or it's mass advertising, because when it's mass, it's, you know, shotgun approach. Who knows who's going to see it? You know, just after I got finished talking about how everything's specifically targeted and curated just to you, it's like, well, who's going to see it, and how do they want to see it? If everything were more targeted, you know, you can have products that are interesting to people who would watch videos of the national anthem being farted. But to apply a policy approach to it and say, this isn't advertiser friendly, that's kind of weird, I guess. So Google knows exactly who you are and what you're interested in, but as far as advertisers go, it's like, everyone generally wants to advertise, kind of, I guess, to general people. I guess you can have, maybe Google needs a maturity rating for advertisers. You know, how mature do you want to advertise? How mature an audience do you want to advertise to? Certainly the people who are going to watch the video of the one-man rendition of Othello versus the people who are watching the national anthem fart hour is those are different people, and they're interested in different things, certainly different products they would like to purchase. At least one would hope. You know, they probably both use toilet paper. It's just weird that this is like, that this is why all this stuff exists, and at the same time we're targeting things, but also not really targeting them. It just doesn't make any sense, really, actually, when you talk about things being advertiser friendly. It doesn't make sense that things would not be advertiser friendly. It would be ridiculous to think that Google doesn't know their advertisers. Well, that only means that Google is censoring on its own part and using the advertiser-friendly thing as a cop-out, which would make sense. There's one other thing I wanted to mention when I was thinking about this, and it's the idea of microtransactions. And I'm not talking about the EA microtransactions kind of thing. I'm talking about the Bitcoin kind of microtransactions, where if I want to enjoy a piece of art, or I like animation. There was a cartoon called Symbionic Titan. It was made by Genndy Tartakovsky, the guy who did Samurai Jack, of whom I'm a pretty big fan. And it was canceled because they couldn't make toys off of it. And I was very upset when I heard that, because that's a terrible reason. But the venue had different goals, and though their advertisers probably wanted to advertise on that show, their object was to license and make products and sell toys for the cartoon. The cartoon is the commercial, which was a weird realization. But from the microtransactions perspective, to be able to have a Bitcoin transaction and send a nickel to Genndy Tartakovsky, or to Genndy Tartakovsky's production company, now you're getting a lot closer to the person producing the actual art. You're closer to the theater showing Shakespeare, rather than generally we're going to shotgun ads to a broad audience. So if you send, you want to watch a new episode of whatever, it costs a nickel. And the transactions fees for that doesn't really make sense if you're sending actual dollars and cents. You would have to kind of put them all together. See, and those individual transactions still cost money to be sent all over the place. That's why Bitcoin would apply for something like this. This is like the Bitcoin paywall on a web page. You want to read this article, it costs, 0.2 of a cent, that kind of thing. I don't know. There's a solution in there somewhere. It's just weird that this like generalized advertising approach for shows and art that is created for the purpose of getting your eyeballs and getting you to open your wallet it feels ooky. That's a scientific term.